All right, welcome back. This is my very first unboxing here on this channel. We have some gear that relates to the pool build I did several years ago. So that video has kind of spawned a few other videos, this being one of them. We weren't paid for this. They did send us this stuff, and I just thought I'd do an unboxing. We're going to go through setting them up and getting them hooked up to the pool, let you know what I think about them and how they work. The first thing that we have is a poolside solar light. This is by a company called Pool Hacker. All right, so this is a little light. It looks like it attaches essentially to the side of your above ground pool. It does say for metal frame above ground pools, YC040 is the part number on the front of the box. So that's the first thing that they sent us. The second thing that they sent us, the solar pool fountain light. This one, a little bit different. So this has some lights built into it, also solar based, but it has a little fountain component, which seems kind of cool. It looks like it attaches to the outlet of your above ground pool. And I would imagine, it looks like that's all that is required. It doesn't actually attach to like the side railing or anything like that. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and cut into both of these boxes and see what we find, and we'll go from there. So let's start with probably the simpler of the two items. Poolside solar light. Boom, here we go. I don't have an above ground or an above camera. I know that's like the thing for unboxing, but before I flip the lid, the side of the box says high efficiency solar, ultra bright, 6800 lux, 10 colors, 4 modes, auto light sensor, timer settings, and 10 plus hours of battery life. All right. And warnings on the other side. Great. Okay, cool. Ooh. Packaging is actually not all that bad. It's kind of what we got going on the inside. Take this little foam guy off. Ooh. All right. Okay. Oh, geez. All right. All right, cool. So this must be like the lighting module. You can see a little LED light panel there at the top, little on-off button, and some metal contacts on this end. Must be how we connect the two together. This has, on the top, the solar array up top, and as you can see, little knob here in the back. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple setup. This obviously clamps to the side of the pool. Again, the only possible drawback I can see is if your pool siding is wider than this for whatever reason, but it's a pretty wide opening. So I think you'll be all right for most above ground pools. And then it looks like this bad boy just kind of maybe just clicks in. Let's see. Oy. Okay, it would help if I was doing it in the right direction. Boom. Yeah, that makes more sense. I was really going about that the wrong way. Okay, cool. It does not look like it's charged up out of the box, which is totally fine. Yeah, so this, like I said, I'm probably going to have to retrofit it a little bit to work in my particular application, but it seems pretty well made, if I'm being honest. I'm pretty impressed with it. Go ahead and I don't think there's much else to it. There is a little remote. It's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and set this one aside, and we will dive deeper once we get this outside and start setting it up. But yeah, this seems pretty straightforward. And yeah, that's all for that one. Let's get this box out of here. All right. Let's try that again. Ooh, that one worked better. All right. Solar pool fountain light. Let's see, side of the box. Warnings on this side. On this side, we have remote control, timer shutdown, long-lasting battery, wide illumination, solar charging, easy install, thread adapter, pressure regulator, eyeball seat key tool, riser, solar ambient light. There's 2 of those. All right, cool. Let's dive in. Let's see what this is all about. Not familiar with this company. I've not really seen much from them before, so this is kind of interesting. Okay, packaging a little bit different. Do not have the black foam inserts like we did with the other one. And an instruction manual. Very nice. Okay, great. Moving on. A lot of trash up here now. Let's get that out of here. Ooh, here we go. Very nice. So here is one side of the unit. You can see LED bar here, right? Solar up top. Just a little connection point. And then kind of right there in the middle, that's where we're going to have the water coming through. Power button on the side. Pretty sweet. Not bad. Not bad. All right. This one. Sorry, guys. My first time. The other fin. Pretty much the exact same thing. Just the other half of the equation. Got a remote. Pretty sweet. Okay. And then the most complicated part of all. Just kidding. It's not that bad. All right. So this, clearly this little, joint is what's going to connect to these little fin guys like that, right? Boom. And then we got a bunch of different adapters and stuff here that essentially will allow us to attach it to the outlet of the pool. Now, the only thing that I can see as being a potential downside here is we'll find out for sure, but I'm wondering if you have to kind of take off the outlet. Maybe it threads into the outlet, the existing ones. We'll figure that out. But I'm wondering if you have to take off the outlet, which could, you might have to drain your pool a little bit to get this in there. And I don't know whether or not you want this hooked up 24/7. So I'm not sure. Again, like with the light, I'm probably going to do a little bit of a different rig with this ultimately, but we will test it as intended. We will try to hook it up as intended. The particular Intex pool that I have, again, if you've not watched that video, go ahead, my pool setup video, go ahead and watch that. But the particular type of Intex pool that I have does have walls that kind of go like this a little bit, right? They're not vertical. So this does have a joint in it. It looks like that might compensate for walls that are not perfectly straight. So that could be a little bit of a nice feature. It was the one thing when I first saw this arrive that I was like, well, that'll never work because it's going to be all slanted. So maybe this will compensate for it. Maybe they've already done the hard work and solved all of the potential issues. We'll find out. So we'll wrap this part of the video up and then we'll jump outside and we'll take a look at getting this stuff set up. See how it goes. All right. So before we go outside, I have an extra one of the Intex outlets, and I was able to go ahead and kind of disassemble that just to kind of confirm. This is actually pretty rad. You do not have to remove this component. This little cap just pops off. It spins off, rather. It spins off, and then there is a adapter that comes with the little waterfall that just kind of threads right onto that. So it should be a super easy thing to set up and attach. So we'll head outside and let's see how it goes. So the first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and thread this bad boy on. We'll see how that goes. So far, so good. All right. Whew. Cooking with gas. Ooh. This part's not as easy. All right, and as suspected, the little like ball joint does allow you to kind of reposition this as necessary. Pretty sweet. All right, I'm gonna go get the other parts. So I'm running into my first issue, which is unique to my pool because this unit doesn't actually go above the pool deck. So these little fins actually kind of hit the pool deck and it kind of pushes the unit away. I still think we can probably try it out, but I think the reality is I'm probably gonna have to jerry rig something a little bit different to have this up long term. But let's see how it goes. I think it'll work for the video. Now I will say one thing as I'm doing all this, it's pretty heavy. I can definitely feel the pool moving quite a bit. I think like the batteries and everything and the light units are pretty significant, that's my guess. But they're on here, we're all screwed in. I think it should work probably, we'll find out what happens. But it is pretty, like, it's not the most secure thing. It kind of, you know what I mean? You get the point, you see it. All right, let's turn it on, see what happens. All right. Pretty sick, it's cool. Hell yeah. It throws a pretty decent stream of water. More than I expected it would, if I'm being honest. And we'll wait for those things to charge up. We'll try the lights a little later, but I think it could be pretty cool. I think long term, it would be nice to mount this somewhere. Maybe not, like right there is kind of an inconvenient location for it to even be with where the ladder is. So maybe we'll work on mounting that somewhere else on the pool and maybe just have like a, kind of like a dual valve or a, you know, we can re-divert the water from the one outlet to this, maybe when we're using the pool or something. It's probably not the type of thing that you would have running all of the time, and because this particular pool only has one outlet on it, probably be best to rig something so that we're not setting it up all the time. So something worth noting, after a few minutes of having this run, the pump did throw a flow error. So my suspicion is that these are probably restricting the water flow a little too much, and maybe cutting off or choking off some of the pump. Not 100% sure on that, but it was just my initial assumption. There is on the side down here, there's a little collar that kind of slides around and it has a vent on it. And that vent allows water, you can see where there's water kind of bubbling up on the side now. Kind of allows extra water to escape down there, maybe cut some of the pressure off. You still get this, right? Still enough flow for that, but something to think about. Because I have a larger pump or a larger filter and pump system, it's probably a little overkill for this particular setup. If you have a smaller pump, might not be an issue, but I suspect that that's why that collar is on there, so you can kind of adjust the water flow. Just something to be aware of. All right, as suspected, with the Pool Hacker solar light, I will need to do a little bit of modifying in my particular case to make this work. Again, reason being because that clip there, that mount is really designed for the coping of the above ground pool, which mine no longer has because of the surround that I've built for it. And it just sitting here, it doesn't actually reach the water But we'll let it charge up, and we'll see how bright the light is just in the water. I can hold it, and we'll give it a shot and see what it looks like. I think it'll probably look pretty cool, and I'm excited to hack something together and find a way to make this work, because I think that this would be a great solution for a pool light. All right, so I wanted to go ahead and show everybody what it looks like when it's running at night with the lights on. And you'll notice in this particular clip, I've actually modified my setup a little bit, and I have connected the fountain in a different spot. I'm gonna go ahead and put together another video that shows how I went about rigging that up. It did require a couple of additional pieces, which I got on Amazon, so I'll go through that in another video. But this is just to kind of see what it looks like at night. The lights are pretty great. They're very bright. There's a lot of different settings and options. You can do just about any color that you want. You can adjust the brightness. You can set up like light shows where it cycles through different colors and different patterns. One thing worth noting is there are light sensors built into the lights as well. So they can actually trigger on and off depending on the ambient light. So like if, for example, when it is nighttime, they can trigger on, and if they sense light, they'll trigger off. This was a little confusing initially because when I set this all up, it was kind of dusk, still sun was up a little bit, and I could not get the lights to stay on. They kept turning off after a few minutes, and as it turns out, that's just because they're sensing light. And if they're sensing light, they just, for power saving purposes, I guess they turn off. I'm not sure if there's a way to manipulate that or turn that off or disable it. I've not done enough research to figure it out. I didn't see anything in the manual that spoke to it, but it's just something to be aware of when you're setting up your own. And one final call out is when I initially had all of this set up, one of the lights was flickering and it wasn't staying on. And we reached out to their customer support, and it seems like that's a syncing issue. So if you reset the light, there's buttons on the side of the lights. If you use that to reset it, it does take care of that problem. So just something to be aware of should you run into similar issues. Just got back inside. You guys saw some of the video of me setting up these Pool Hacker products. I actually have really good things to say about them, even though I couldn't set up the light in my particular case. They seemingly are pretty well made, and for the price point, the light is about $100, and I think the fountain is roughly $90 to $100, I think, depending on where you get it from. So I think, given honestly like the build quality of these and the function which you get for it, it seems like a pretty good deal. And you know, on the Pool Hacker, on the Pool Light, they do make a couple different versions of this. So they do make one that is for a steel-sided pool. They do make one that is for an in-ground pool. And I suspect the main difference is going to be the way that it attaches. It looks like that's probably the component that adjusts between the different models. Now, this is the correct model for the pool that I have, for the pool type that I have. I have a unique situation given the decking that I built around it. So I'm gonna have to modify this to make it work, but we're gonna do that. We'll do a separate video. We'll talk all about how we modified this to get it to work. But I think it's pretty well made. I think, are you going to get 8 or 9 seasons out of it? Probably not, but I suspect if you take care of them, and you live in a moderate climate, I suspect you can get a season or 2 or 3 or 4 maybe out of it. The Pool Hacker Light, the one thing, that is worth probably calling out is there are these metal pins on the lower portion of the light. I think this is probably where the battery is what it feels like. And these two things disconnect. But this line, this break point can't get submerged. This is not like a watertight connection point. There is some rubber seals in there. I suspect like if you leave it outside during the rain or something like that, you'll be okay, but it's definitely not designed to be fully submerged. I suspect anything probably above this power button is likely not designed to go underwater. I think really just this LED panel at the bottom is probably the thing that's really designed or intended to go under the water. So just a call out on that. This on the other hand, this looks a little different to me as far as how it's constructed. I think that this is largely waterproof. We'll find out. I did drop one of these in the pool when I was taking it apart, so we'll find out. But it doesn't look like there's any like real opening or like entry point for where water would get into the electronics. So I think that you're probably I think you're safer on these. And, you know, obviously like the big question with both of these products is how long would like the battery last? Just even during like nightly use or even just like long, like lifespan. Like I don't know the quality of the batteries that are in here, but you know, after a season or two, you'll probably know or find out. This particular piece that they sent us, the water fountain light, it's a very cool item. I think it adds an element to the pool. I'm getting water everywhere. It adds an element to the pool. It's very fun. I would suspect that like kids would get a huge kick out of it. Probably a great thing to have for like a party or something. I don't know that it's something that I would leave installed all of the time. Fortunately, the assembly of this, the attachment to the pool itself is very quick. You can do it in probably 90 seconds. It happens relatively fast. The one thing that, again, I did mention this when I was outside, there is like a relief valve in here. You can kind of see in the video how it kind of opens and closes, and that just relieves some of the pressure that I think builds up depending on the pump size that you have. And the other component of this too, obviously, is moderating the water flow too. So basically, like when I first turned this on, like it was shooting water like crazy. So I had to modulate this a little bit to kind of cut back on that some. And I was getting it was throwing an error on the pump. And again, due to flow. So once we adjusted this a little bit, error went away. We were good. Again, I like the fact that I talked about this a few times already, but it has this ball joint on the very end of this, which allows you to kind of positionally move this portion of the fountain. It kind of allows you to level it out if your pool doesn't have vertical walls like the rectangular Intex model. It allows you to kind of adjust for that. Again, it's a nice feature. I think the only real drawback that I foresee with this, and it's nothing to do with the company that produced this. It's just inherently what happens with above ground pools like an Intex pool, and that is that the walls they're not very rigid. Like there's a lot of movement and a lot of play. So this is very it moves a lot. It wobbles. Like if a kid were to grab onto it or if somebody were to bump it, it could damage the liner, or it could damage some of the hardware. It kind of protrudes out, and it's just not secured all that well. They do provide, there's like this little key that they provide that allows you to utilize this product with like an in-ground pool or something. So I think it can kind of plug and play with a lot of different types and styles of pools. It really only comes with this one adapter. I'm assuming that this adapter is probably good for most of the, generic above ground pool models. But, I'm sure there's a world out there where you can kind of hack this together for, different models if you need to. I don't really know what I'm saying there. But it doesn't come with like a bunch of different adapters. Like you get this one, basically. Although I don't know, I think this, because it has a seal on it, this might attach to something directly, like one of the Intex hoses or something. I've not really searched it. I'm not really like troubleshooted that too much, but I'm going to kind of figure it out because I'm going to try to build something into my current setup. Allows this to be maybe a little bit more of a long-term item, something I can just kind of like set up at the beginning of the year and just leave there all year round. Maybe I'll have some kind of like valve I can turn it on or off. But, if you cover your pool, or if you don't want like a fountain all night long or all of the time, then, you're going to be taking this on and off throughout the season. Again, not a huge deal because it sets up pretty fast, but, why not see if we can make something even better? A couple of cool call outs between these products, which I found reading the user manual. They do synchronize together. So there's actually like different light shows apparently, or at least according to the paperwork. I've not gotten to try this stuff out, but I look forward to it. Once these things charge up and get some sunlight, we're gonna, maybe try to fire these bad boys up and see what kind of shows we can get going. But yeah, there's little remotes that come with both of them. They're not, they will do light shows on their own. You don't have to have both of them, but you can have both. And yeah, per the instruction manual, again, it does show a install option that forgoes the adapter that was supplied. So it looks like multiple ways of setting this up. So above ground pool, in ground pool, everything that you need for that included with the fountain kit. Pretty sweet. This is what the remote looks like. This little bad boy. It's very tiny. They share the same type of remote, so that's what you got there. And yeah, that's what I got. Like I said, I think they're well made. I would definitely check them out. I think the price point is really the thing that sells them, in my opinion, the best. I think for $100, like the pool light, it's definitely comparable with any of the Intex lighting products, I think, for the most part. And I suspect that this fountain thing is probably significantly better made than the Intex fountains. I know that there are a few different ones out there, but I would say definitely get out there and check it out. Again, Pool Hacker is the company. This is the solar pool fountain light and the pool light. But yeah, their information will be in the comments below or in the little description below. If you have any additional questions, if you want to learn more, feel free to write me something. I'll get back to you. Subscribe to the channel, please. That'd be great. We're trying to keep this project going. So thanks again and have a great day.